From a Christian perspective, maneuvering certain worldly topics and things of the world can be difficult because there's a lot of times that you'll be presented with things and question, is this okay for me to be doing or engaging with? And a big topic within that is video games, things like Fortnite and so on, especially for us as individuals and especially even more so for parents who are trying to raise their kids in the right way. And a lot of people will hit with the arguments of, video games are too violent. Kids are too addicted to them. They spend too much time with them. They're not engaging with the rest of the world. And you know what? Those are valid concerns. But they're not the big picture problem. So, which I'd like to break down for you. See, here's the thing. Video games are too violent. Yes, I agree with you. Certain video games, I certainly wouldn't be allowing a 8 or 9-year-old to play. Something like Fortnite, which is very colourful and sort of friendly, doesn't seem that bad to me. Here's my reasoning. When you were a kid, when your grandparents were a kid, they would rough around, they would play war, they would come home scraped up. They'd be doing it out there in the real world. And video games and technology has allowed us to have that same kind of imagination that we had as a kid when you were a child, or your grandparent was a child, and so on. And now it's just accelerated. Do I think that all video games are okay for all children? No. But are video games the problem? Is violence in video games the problem? No. Your kids are going to beat each other up and rough about. Your job as a parent, or your job as an individual, is to find the boundaries and figure out what is okay and what is not. Have respect and have limits, right? And that comes into the second part, the addiction point, right? Kids have never wanted to do the productive choice. Never. I know as an adult, I'm nearly 30, I never want to do the addictive choice because I follow the dopamine. Kids follow the dopamine. They go where they feel good, where they can get a bit of a high. Now, when you were younger, or when your grandparents were younger, they would probably sneak some candy or be trying to get off into the neighborhood to enjoy themselves, play, have fun. They weren't at home doing their chores. So the concept of, our kids are getting addicted to the video games. If your kids didn't have video games, they'd be addicted to something else that would take them away from productivity. The difficulty that we have nowadays is that technology has made it so much more readily available for us to access this dopamine. So it seems like a much bigger problem. And in some ways, it's a lot trickier. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to a natural regulation that you're going to have seen at so many points in your life. The real point that I want to get to, the real problem that I see when it comes to young people and video games, is the sociability. Young people nowadays are getting exposed to social encounters in all of these games because they're team-based. If you play something like Fortnite, you have the ability to engage with other players. And because you're hidden behind an avatar, you have no idea who you're talking to. Same with games like Roblox, Minecraft in some instances. There are so many social engagements online, which I believe is where the real problem sets in. Now, let me hit you with 2 Bible verses that I think are going to be relevant to this conversation. Number 1 is in 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14, and it goes, "Do not be yoked together with unbelievers, for what do righteousness and wickedness have in common? Or what fellowship can light have with darkness?" Point of this verse, which is often used when we're talking about relationships, especially romantic relationships, is that when you're going out into the world and you're engaging with other people, especially people who do not share your same sentiments, principles, or opinion, you're going to build, clashes within what you're dealing with. Because, as it says, if I turn on a light, there's not going to be any darkness in here, right? And that is a great example. If I get mud and I put it into water and I mix it up, you're not going to be able to see clearly anymore. Now, your kids, especially when they're at very impressionable ages, around, say, you're 8 to 16, they are going to be open to all of this extra information, all of these extra engagements and interactions with people who are not necessarily trying to be their best selves online. Because at the end of the day, people hop online to escape their reality. And a lot of the time that leads to really toxic behavior because people stop sort of having their barriers up and they stop having that little voice in their head that tells them, I shouldn't do this. And they start just living freely. I've played enough video games where I have sort of gotten really excited at the prospect of, winning a round or, getting back at somebody who wronged me in the game before, all these kind of things. And I'm a person who I believe has been raised within the church in such a way that I have practiced the balance between healthy competition and still showing love and compassion. And you know what? Even I still struggle with that. I struggle daily. I had a conversation with a friend of mine just this afternoon where he was suggesting something that I didn't think was very right. And you know what? I made him feel judged. I made him feel like I was giving him a negative outlook straight off the bat. And when I told him that I didn't think that what he was doing was a good idea. Because we were talking about how to handle things in the video game. And you know what? We handle things two different ways. And whether I agree with him or not, I inadvertently made him feel like I was shutting him down. Right? You as a parent or as an individual need to be cautious of the way that you're engaging with these online spaces. If you've got a very small child, I don't think completely removing them from these social engagements and from these games is a solution. But I definitely think putting boundaries in place and putting blocks on certain social features, you can turn off chat and voice chat in most of these games. So you can limit your kids to only be talking to their actual friends when they organize to play with their real world friends. People that you can trust are not going to be somebody reading them down the wrong path. Another verse that backs this up is from Proverbs 13:20, which is walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. The point here is, especially if you're a young person who's trying to find their way in the world, Christian or not, there are people who trying to be cool, trying to have fun, trying to be hip, will be doing things that are not helpful or wise. Let's spray paint on the side of this building because it's fun. Let's break into this abandoned building because why not? Let's steal candy because who cares? It's just a couple dollars worth. These are things that spiral. They're things that are not great. And there are kids out there who do these kind of things because they're just trying to live. They're trying to break the rules. They're trying to rebel. And truthfully, there are a lot of people out there who do that more than others. And there's no way of guaranteeing that you as an individual or as a parent can control those engagements within a digital space. I love to play a game called Rust. Now, Rust is rated for adults because there's lots of violence in it. There's a lot of gunplay and a lot of sort of PvP, fighting other players. It's rated for adults for that reason. The reason I would say it's rated for adults is because the entire game revolves around these clan-based fights wherein you build up a base, you get resource, and you take other people's resources. Right? Now, you could be the person taking the resources, or you could be the person getting taken from, having your hard work wiped away from you. And you might see where I'm going with this, but that situation of being completely torn down does not bring out the best in people. And for some folks, being the ones doing the tearing down, they can have such a surge of ego and just bravado that they start being what we call in the gaming community really toxic. They start sort of talking down on people. They start hurling abuse and all sorts of things. Mostly just because they're trying to escape their own realities. Because at the end of the day, real life, you're not winning all the time. In video games, if you get good enough, you can win all the time. So this is where I want to say to you, as a parent, consider this. Or as an individual, again, if you're somebody who struggles with sort of these video game scenarios, this could be really helpful for you. But consider the way that you engage and engulf this content. Because the social aspect is definitely more dangerous than the games themselves. Especially at a young age when you're not yet able to discern situations too well. Don't completely restrict your children from experiencing the world, from getting out and actually being able to see things, learn from their mistakes, build relationships with people that are going to foster good growth. But be aware of the dangers. You know, there's a great film. I watched this with Zara Lay, my wife. It's called Bubble Boy. And there's another other films. There's, what was the one with the girl who's stuck in a house? It's got that really good actor in it. He's done a few shows, films I've seen, a lot of really good rom-coms. But they're these storylines where the child is told they're sick. They have to stay inside because they're sick and they are unlikely to be able to survive in the real world. Ultimately, spoiler alert, turns out they're not sick. But their parents are trying to protect them so much that these kids never properly learned from the world around them. And more so than that, their bodies didn't learn to adjust to bacteria and things in the world. So they ended up creating problems because these kids who didn't have any issues with them ended up having poor immune systems, ended up having all these kind of issues. It's crazy. If we overprotect the people we love and if we overprotect ourselves, then we take away from the opportunity to learn and grow. God's always there for us, and we'll never encounter a mountain that is too tough for us to go through. And if you or someone you care about is facing a really big mountain, you can be there to help them through it. You can support them. I have seen some terrible things. I have been through some less than great situations. I have hit rock bottom more times than I can think of. But I have always had God by my side, and I've always had people who were able to help me through it where necessary. And a lot of times I took the humility to just reach out and ask for help, which is really hard to do. That's more so for if you're an individual facing these things. You might want to reach out to somebody and say, hey, I have an issue in this area, help me out. If you're a parent, same thing. You know, there is so much that we can do that is healthy. So, yes, video games can be addictive, but you've got to apply regulation either as an individual, yourself as an adult, or as a parent. Healthy boundaries. Healthy. I cannot stress enough, healthy. Do not make them too bounded, but do not make them too loose. There's a middle ground. There's a really good middle ground. And make sure that you're protecting your kids in social engagement. I stream online on my channel, Game with FJ, and I've done that as a channel for positive youth enrichment. Because there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of streamers, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of TV shows that are just really unhealthy for our kids. And I try my best to be a positive pillar within the community. But even I need to be really cautious when I'm having conversations with young people that they continue to be safe. Because at the end of the day, your young people don't know better. They make a friend, they tell them everything. I have to tell young people all the time, hey, don't give me any personal details. We can talk about your issues, we can work through stuff, but don't give me anything too private. Because you don't know me. I don't know you physically, I don't know your family. Your parents certainly don't want you unloading all of your emotions to somebody that you don't know, especially an adult that you don't know. Because there is the risk of the situation being sour. So, keep that in mind when you are trying to maneuver these situations with your young ones. And drop a comment if you think that there is something that you could, you want to sort of run by me. I'm open to having a conversation. God bless, guys. And if you have any other topics that you want me to talk about, let me know as well. Until the next video, though, love you guys. See you.